Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and today I'm going to be making stew. I'm going to be making a beef stew. I tend to make that just because that's what I like, but you could also do turkey or chicken or lamb, really whatever you prefer. So I'll start with the ingredients. I'm a little more organized this time, just a little bit. I already prepped everything just because like you don't need to watch me cut things up. Like life is stressful enough. You don't need that. So I've got carrots. I did 5 large carrots and then 2 medium onions and 3 to 4 stalks of celery. I did 5 to 6 large potatoes. I've got them sitting in some water just because I didn't want them to oxidize and go gray while I was prepping other things. For my meat, I have a sirloin tip roast. This was about $9 and it's about 2 pounds. I've just cut that up into like 1-inch pieces. I've got 2 of these of the beef broth stock. These were $2 each. I'm going with the no salt added, but I have done it before where I've mixed the regular with the no salt so that it's somewhere in between, just because there is a lot of salt in the regular one, but I couldn't find it because it was on sale, so that was gone. So yeah, we're gonna use that. For that, I'm actually going to be using not both whole ones. I'm going to be freezing what's left over. I'll use 1.1 liters, so 1,100 mils of that. Now for the seasoning of the meat, I've got 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. You can put a little bit more or a little bit less, whatever you prefer. This is going to thicken it, so whatever amount you do, if you do a little bit more, you might have a little bit thicker result. If you do less, you might have a bit runnier of a stew. Then I've got 2.5 tablespoons of paprika. For the final cooking stage, we've got 4 bay leaves, as well as 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Usually I get this guy for about $1. What happened was last time I made stew, I had some leftovers, so I just put that in a nice cube tray. Each cube is about 1 tablespoon. It doesn't have to be exact. So yeah, that just popped out a couple of those for today's recipe. So yeah, let's get cooking. All right, so to start off, I've got my cornstarch and I'm just gonna add my paprika to that. And I'll whisk that up, make sure it's perfectly blended. All right, now I'm gonna take my meat and I'm going to coat that in this mixture. You could do this by putting it all together in a bag and shaking it like a Ziploc bag. I just prefer doing it this way, so I'm just going to sprinkle it over. And then I'm going to take my tongs and I'm just going to make sure that it all gets coated on all sides. All right, so we've got all of that coated now. We've picked up most of our seasoning mixture and the meat is well coated, so we can get on to cooking. So I'm going to use a wok today. I know this isn't like the traditional pan you would use for something like this, but I just wanted to try it out. That really wide pan that we have is a little too wide for this, so we're gonna see how this works for us. I'm gonna add a couple tablespoons of canola oil, and we'll go up to medium-high heat. So I'll do like a 7 out of 10 kind of thing. And after we get that oil heated up, I will add my meat. I'm going to start putting my meat in. We're just going to brown this on all sides. Last time I did this, I did something similar to with the chili, where I had my veg cooking down at the same time as the beef, but I found the beef got away from me a little bit. It was fine, but like the bottom of the pan got a little blackened. So this time I figured I would just do them separately so that I can do it, you know, properly. And because I have the time. This is definitely one of those recipes that I would consider an investment recipe. It takes some time to do it. It takes some effort, a lot of ingredients, but it is something that you can do, and it freezes really well, so you can do it in a big batch. I don't recommend doing this on like a work night. I did that once. I came home from work and I was like, yeah, I'll just make stew. And it wasn't done until it was like 11. I don't recommend you do that. Alright, so we've got all of our meat. Just gonna spread it out a little bit. Just gonna turn this down a little bit, just between 5 and 6. Because of the cornstarch and paprika mixture, it does want to burn, so just be careful and keep an eye on it, and definitely make sure you keep turning it over so that you get all the sides and you're not just absolutely torching one side of your. Alright, so it's coming along nicely, just making sure I keep it moving. If you do get some darker spots, that's okay, don't panic. That's what it does, but unless it is absolutely charred, then you are fine. It will be fine. You want to get a good sear on all sides of your meat. I always manage to launch at least one piece of meat out of my pan. It's tradition. So that is looking pretty good. I'm not seeing any more red, so I think we can take this off the element. Actually going to trade that out for my bigger pot now. In here I'm going to put 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil. I really don't want my veg getting too out of hand, and I do want to soften it quite a bit. It'll take some time for the carrots and celery especially to get softened down. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my carrots, my celery, and my onions. I'm going to grab the lid and I'm going to let these guys sweat a little bit. I'm still between 5 and 6 in terms of like the temperature of my element. So it shouldn't start burning or anything too crazy. Although this element, it likes to do some fun stuff sometimes. But right now I think it's doing okay. Alright, so I'm going to check that in a minute or two. Alright, so it's been about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Just want to stir everything around, make sure that my heat heat isn't too high. And then we'll keep sweating it in its little sauna for another couple minutes, and then I'll check it again and stir it again. And we'll keep doing that until it gets just kind of soft, so I can like cut one of the carrots with the spoon with a little bit of pressure. They don't have to be super, super soft because they are going to be boiling in the, well, they're going to be going into the oven for an hour and a half. So they'll definitely get a chance to soften down there. I just want to give them a little bit of a head start because you don't really want any harder raw bits in your stew. It's kind of a mushy food. Okay. So that's going pretty good. I'm actually going to turn that right off. And yeah, carrots can be cut just with a spoon, so I think we're ready to go. So as you can see, I should have added more water. The veg turned out fine. There's a few bits that are a little dark, but they'll be fine. They'll just work out in the stew. But I am going to wash this pot before I go ahead and put the stew together because I don't want all of that black gook changing the taste of the stew. We're back. The pot is back to its beautiful self. Thank God for SOS pets. I think we got ours at Dollar Tree. They're definitely good to have around. Okay, so the next step, we're going to put our veg back in. We're also going to add our meat in. Then we're going to add the potatoes. I've drained the water out of them. Give that a stir before we go any further. Try to get things evenly distributed. Okay, I'm going to turn on my heat. I'm just going to go to 5 this time. Actually, I'll bring it up to 7 because we are going to bring this to a boil. I've got my broth measured out already. What I have is actually a 1 liter liquid measuring cup, so I just went over the line a little bit for that extra 100 mils. And that's perfect. It's just enough to give the rest of the ingredients a nice little bath. I'm also going to add my tomato paste. As well as my bay leaves. Now is when I like to go in with some salt and pepper. I did use the no salt broth, so I don't have to worry too much about over salting this. I'm just going to give it a few shakes. It's fine. It'll be fine. And I actually have pepper today, so that's good. We'll give it a few cracks of pepper. I'm going to very carefully stir this up. Make sure I get everything incorporated evenly. what we're going to do now is bring this to a boil, which will activate that cornstarch and help the sauce to thicken a little bit. I'm going to let that come to a boil now, and when it boils, then we're going to let it go for about 2 minutes just to give it a chance to do its magic, and then we're ready for the oven. So right now I will get the oven started. I'm going to go to 375. And that should be all heated up by the time we get this sorted and into other containers. So I ended up turning it up to a 9 just to get that boil going a little quicker. I'm going to go back down to a 6 now because I don't need it burning on the bottom. I just wanted to get it rolling. Now that it's boiling, I'm going to give it 2 minutes. I'll stir it occasionally during that time just to keep anything from sticking, although it shouldn't. There's a lot of liquid in here. Hopefully this angle is a bit better. It occurred to me that the angle I was at might have been a little disorienting, so my apologies. Well, I've turned my element off, although it is still simmering. I've taken out a cookie sheet. I put it in more than one container just because this is the largest casserole dish that I have, and it's not going to take all that. So I'm going to use one of these guys from Costco. They're great because they have their own lids, so I can just cool this off and then put it straight in the freezer for using later. So you could do this with a cast iron Dutch oven, I believe it is. I used to have one. They are great. You can do the whole thing start to finish in one of those. And it can go straight in the oven, which is great. Personally though, like, I find it too heavy. Like, it's fairly heavy because it's cast iron before you even fill it with a bunch of liquid. So I have muscle issues and chronic pain. So if you're like me, then you might not want to risk your back, neck, and shoulders by working with something that big. This worked out great for me. And as I said, I already got it ready to go into the freezer when I do this way. Alright, so I've covered both containers tightly with foil. Don't think you need to hear all that racket. So I just went ahead and did that. Be careful when you're doing it. Your containers will be hot. You don't want to, burn your fingers. So this is ready to go in the oven, and I'm going to set a timer for 1 hour, at which time I'm going to stir them and recover them, and then put them back in for another half hour. So there you have it, the final product. Cozy, comforting stew. As I said before, you can make this with whatever meat, whatever veg, whatever stock that you want. One time I didn't have beef broth when I was making beef stew, and I used chicken, and it turned out great. You can add whatever veg you like. Some people like sweet potatoes. You could add broccoli, whatever you have to use up, whatever you think would be tasty. Have fun with it, and hope this helps.